A heavenly perspective next. Hi, my name is Dave Hyman, and today the Plan A Misconception broadcast will delve into the views into heaven that are given to us in God's Word. If this is your first time checking out the Plan A series, a very brief definition of Plan A would be a divine determinism, which means that every word, thought, and action of every person throughout history, both good and bad, has been decreed by God before time began. A heavenly perspective. There are a number of Bible passages that we need to consider that show us straightforward views into events that happened in heaven, including sections of Job 1 and 2, Isaiah 6, 1 Kings 22, 2 Chronicles 18, and John 22. These heavenly interactions take place in real earth time, not before the world was created. Satan cannot see into the future, but like you and I, live in the flow of time. These brief views into heavenly events should give us some insight into how God rules his universe and some understanding about when these things take place. God, Satan, and Job. One of the most famous glimpses into heaven is recorded in Job 1, verses 6 through 12, and Job 2, 1 through 7. Quote, "The Lord asked Satan, 'Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil?' Then Satan replied, 'Have you not put a hedge around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face.'" The Lord allowed Satan to take away all Job's wealth and kill his 10 children. Through all this terrible trial, Job maintained his integrity. So Satan again appeared before the Lord in heaven to argue that if Job were to be physically afflicted, Job would sin. Job questioned why all this was happening to him, but he held on to his righteousness. Yes, Job maintained his integrity even then. Did this heavenly exchange between the Lord and Satan happen before the foundation of the earth was laid? We can safely say no. This dialogue in God's throne room happened during Job's lifetime. Satan blames the hedge of protection that God put around Job as being the cause of Job's uprightness. The Lord made the decision to give everything that Job owned and his sons and daughters into Satan's hand at that time. Then, during Satan's second visit, the Lord gave the evil one the power over Job's flesh and bones. But the Lord commanded Satan, "Only spare his life." These decisions were not made before creation, but rather they were in real time during Job's life. The war council of the two kings. In 1 Kings, about 400 false prophets were gathered before the thrones of the kings of Israel and Judah, giving them false prophecies. King Jehoshaphat asked, "Is there not here any prophet of the Lord of whom we may require?" Reluctantly, King Ahab sent for Micaiah, who was a true prophet of the Lord. Micaiah's prophecy gave us some insight into the workings of heaven. Micaiah told the kings and the prophets, "Therefore, hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the heavenly hosts of heaven standing beside him on the right hand and on the left. And the Lord said, Who will entice Ahab that he may go and fall at Ramoth Gilead?" And one said one thing, and another said another. Then a spirit came forward and stood before the Lord, saying, "I will entice him." And the Lord said to him, "By what means?" And he said, "I will go out and will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets." And he said, "You are to entice him, and you shall succeed. Go out and do so. Now, therefore, behold, the Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these your prophets. The Lord has declared disaster on you." Here, the Hebrew word for host is sada, which means a company or mass of people. And the Hebrew word for heaven is semaiah, which means the abode above. So we have an assembly of celestial beings having deliberations before the Lord on what to do to lure the king of Israel to go to battle with the king of Aram. There were 3 suggestions given. The Lord listened to their counsel and chose the 3rd suggestion that came from the 3rd lying spirit. God made his decision in real time to bring about the outcome that pleased him concerning King Ahab. Isaiah's view into heaven. Hopefully, these examples point out that the Lord is making judgments from his throne in real time, not before time began, but the most known of the heavenly views in the Bible is found in Isaiah 6. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him stood the seraphim. Each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one called to another and said, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." After Isaiah's vision in heaven of the Holy One who sits on the throne, he realized his sinful ways, unclean lips. The Lord took away Isaiah's guilt, and his sin was forgiven. Then the Lord asked, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" At that time, Isaiah volunteered for the Lord's prophetic assignment. And at that time, Isaiah was probably in his teens or early 20s. This did not happen before Genesis 1, but when Isaiah was a young man. Jesus prays for Simon Peter. Now we move on to the New Testament. After the 12 had been arguing about who would be the greatest in the kingdom, Jesus said, "Simon, Simon, Behold, Satan demanded to have you, that he might sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. Jesus is describing what happened before the Father's throne, similar to what happened when the accuser asked to test Job's faith. This passage in Luke 22 shows that things are in flux and that Satan is periodically demanding that he be allowed to sift people. But this time, because of the Lord's prayer, Peter would not falter, but would not totally fail, but rise again. Conclusion. As we consider these heavenly proceedings, we see that there are times of spiritual beings gathered before the Lord, sometimes asking to be allowed to do certain things, and other times giving counsel. The Lord listens to those before him and makes decisions according to his wisdom. But always the final decisions are made by the Lord in real earth time and not before the world was made. The accuser of our brothers demands to test people and alleges that if certain things would happen in people's lives, they would turn from their faith. All these examples above happened while these people were living their lives and not before the creation of the heavens and the earth. Things are decided in heaven before they take place on earth, but not in some surreal time before the universe was created. There are no indications in the Bible that Satan can move in and out of time, but rather goes through time as we do. Well, thank you for staying tuned to the Plan A Misconception podcast, and more is to come. Thanks.